first poem I'm going to read is called Panthera. Memories often inspire my poetry, the type that get caught like fruit and jelly, the ones that stick in the mind. I like to dismantle them and reconstruct them and really think about why the images are significant. I'm also interested in animals as symbols, and I think in this poem the panther represents a sense of menace, but there's also empathy there for a caged animal that can't act on its instincts. I think when we are very young children, if we're lucky enough to grow up in a loving family, we often feel very safe and secure. But there does come a time where we have an epiphany that the world is a big place and we are vulnerable in it. Panthera, Dublin Zoo, 1979. Laughably, they said you were a cat, but your crow-coloured pelt tells 5-year-old me you are shadow incarnate. Steadfast, you pace, posture and rehearse the hoisting of carcasses into trees, refuting the futility of your instincts in captivity. It's true, they have squeezed your mightiness into a box, but ghosts of night forests cannot be contained. I believe, because scrying in your patient amber eyes, I decipher you are more black hole than substance, a movable trapdoor, one of a shifting legion inclined to swallow a child.
Intensive care. It does me no good to pay attention to the shushing sound of the ventilator or the incessant twinkle of machine lights. Let me pretend to follow you, like a scuba diver, gliding through lock waters, the passing of the Banfoot ferry above us, chugging its cargo of suited and booted brill-cream boys, girls with shiny evening bags, resting on swing-skirted laps. Our bodies are clouds now. We are wearing crowns of March thistle. We want to stay just here, but currents are carrying us away in their eddies. You reach the shore and stretch out on your back, inviting me to place my head on your belly. The weight of it makes you smile, because this is how it once was. Me curled up like a nautilus, sleeping in your womb. This poem, Intensive Care, from Fiona's collection, is a great example of her ability to meld different elements together and take you off in a very unexpected direction. It's wonderful. You have the nostalgic elements there. You have the Brill Cream Boys at Banfoot Ferry, and you have the surreal sort of imagery there of the Nautilus at the end, which is just really unexpected, but it's been set up wonderfully by how she's paced the poem as well. It's a very emotional poem, but it never loses its control as well, and it just combines everything wonderfully to have something that is startling and original. And I think that's really indicative of a lot of the poems in this collection. It was an enjoyable collection to read because of that unexpectedness and how well it's been executed. It's a wonderful set of poems.
cross-stitch of tui whistles span across the wet morning. Honey-eaters, ancient birds. They gorge on confectionery pink cherry blossom. An eye-shaped slit of teal in an otherwise chalk-white sky hovers over sleeping volcano Maungakiki like a spell. At dusk, the trees will be gilded with sunken, drunken sunlight. Giant solar ostensoria, amber beacon of the day's apocalypse. Once I watched a child hold out her hands towards the night with utter conviction to catch the cool sprinkle of fireworks raining over the turrets of a castle. In the chamber of every heart it's known, we are surface shadows passing over the prismatic water of this world. We gleam with sacred secrets. Kia ora koutou, hello everyone. I'm sitting here in Tamaki Makaurau, the city of Auckland, where I first met Fiona Perry and where she used to live, and I am by the Tamaki River. I love the poem Spellbound, which is in Alchemy, the new collection, because it weaves together places, times, and the inner and outer worlds as well. So Fiona mentions here in her poem cross-stitch of tui whistles. A tui are the most beautiful sounding birds here in New Zealand, Aotearoa. They also have this little white tuft of feathers on their chest, which makes them look like they have little floppy white bows on. And to hear a tui sing is a marvellous thing. And so this sense of the native bird that's been here for so long, singing, and these cherry blossoms, which are a more recent feature in our country, together is beautiful. And also Maungakiki, the extinct volcano, which, you know, our landscape here is dotted with extinct volcanoes, with the maunga, the mountains. They are considered tapu, sacred. They are very special places. And again, I really like the way that Fiona has brought in this symbol of the sacred into her poem. And then, of course, goes on to talk about a child and the turrets of a castle, which takes us across the sea up into the northern hemisphere, and the wondrous sort of beauty of thinking you can catch the fireworks in your hand. And the alchemy comes in this last stanza of the poem, when she talks about the chambers of the heart, and we take all of that wonderful imagery of beautiful song, of the sacred maunga and the fireworks in the sky, and it comes inside, and we gleam with sacred secrets. So sitting here on this spring afternoon, that poem, it really is wonderful to read. I love Fiona's work. I've loved it for a long time. She's always, since I've known her, had her own voice and her own style. I don't read her poems and think that they are like anyone else's. I don't see her trying to be derivative of anyone else or following trends. She really does just write in her own style, and she does meld together a variety of references and influences in the different layers that her poems work on. So I'm wishing her all the best with this collection. It's a very good collection.
The following poem is a series of short cameo pieces entitled Memory Box. taken from Fiona Perry's new book of poems, Alchemy. A Sutton seed packet. Here you are, pop-up book deep in cottage familiars, creaking their delirious roots into blood-warm, well-tended soil. Dotted amongst them, exotic botanicals, the joyful offspring of slips pilfered from National Trust gardens. Thomas à Kempis's imitation of Christ. Winter is the time to fret and look for answers to the unanswerable in late-night embers and these pages. Kept within reach on your bedside table, this book is a compass with which to navigate the dark geometry of the mind. A crochet needle belonging to your wife. 2 lives enmeshed in thousands of interlocking loops. The steadfast slipknot of her dutifulness, securing an unbroken chain of family life. She lies with the peonies, icing sugar pink, you placed in her coffin, loved until the end. A wage slip, the final day of school. Your classmates are hurtling their books over the wall with abandon. You sit crying, bereft, on playground gravel. A bright 12-year-old. Further education out of grasp. But labourer and factory worker, you will never waver from providing for your family. Okay, a photo of Sloane Street. Greyhounds sleeping in front of the fire. Your sister brushing her hair in a wall mirror. Beyond the back door, the cluck and guttural groan of chickens, the promise of fruit bushes in bud, every prayer and intercession a protective force field. A CD of Puccini's Gianni Schicchi. You are a teenager. O mio bambino caro is playing on a neighbour's radio. A startling new sound. It seeps through the bedroom wall and into your marrow. God is in music, you would say. Puccini, Rachmaninoff, Mozart. Passion, solace, elevation. A pigeon's life ring. Your father creates cages with old bicycle spokes in which to keep and observe wild birds. You were always more interested in release than entrapment. A bird's ability to find its way home, a lifelong fascination. The commonplace turned miraculous. A family Bible. Your mother is dangerously ill. Your aunts are either side of you, holding a hand, teaching 3-year-old you to count by climbing stairs in their house. 1, 2, 3. Keep rising, moving. Let go of their hands now. Follow magnetic maps to your final destination. As you journey, lift this box high. Scoop and drop each of these totems like ballast from a hot air balloon. You no longer have a need for them. Let them descend intact. We are here to catch them, to carry them into the next generation. The poem Memory Box is written for Fiona's father, Brian Dummigan. Brian Dummigan was also my uncle and my godfather. He was my mother's brother. He and my mother were the closest of siblings and also the closest of friends. Brian was a keen gardener. He had a magical green fingers. He constantly took damp tissue paper with him in case he came across a plant that he wanted to slip and wanted to take that plant home. Hence the reference in the poem to the joyful offspring of slips pilfered from National Trust gardens. Brian's garden itself was a wonderful landscape in which you could disappear. It was colourful. It was a giant mosaic of fruit, flowers, occasional vegetables. He had these towering trellises of sweet pea. And one of my memories of Brian was when my mother was dying of cancer in hospital, and Brian took over a bouquet of sweet pea to soothe her bedside, let's say. There's a gentle knowledge and an awareness in her use of language and form. As a writer and a reader, I suppose one of the things that I don't like in a poem is seeing the scaffolding of a poem still intact after the poem's been finished. Sometimes you can see the nuts and bolts and planks all still there, and that's what you notice. You don't see the beauty of the poem behind the artifice, and you don't get that necessarily with Fiona's work. There's a sense of ease, of grace, of awareness, and there's a gentle knowledge at play there that shows that she knows what it means to write poetry.
The common thread running through Alchemy is the theme of transformation. I tried to explore the ways in which personal experience, political landscape, moments of spiritual awareness, and ancestry all alter our inner chemistry. I tried to cast the net wider than personal experience to consider how the human condition is expressed in scripture and indigenous storytelling. Having been brought up in Ireland but also lived in Australia and New Zealand, I was inspired by Gaelic storytelling, but also Aboriginal Australian and Māori myths and legends. I'm fascinated by the similarities across cultures in how life's milestones are dealt with, and I really think it's something that unites us. I use the words of Mary Oliver to introduce Alchemy as a sort of personal mission statement. It set the intention for the book, and it says, "I tell you this to break your heart, by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world."